Hello and welcome back. We are doing an unboxing for a highly anticipated piece of equipment for me, and it's the Hi-Tech Diamond 6-inch trim saw. So let's get right to it. Saw comes in a nice big box. I know the saw isn't that big, but they send a lot of they send it well protected. The box is 30-ish pounds, maybe a little bit lighter, 25. Boom. 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 All right. Looks great. I'm gonna put the camera down and take it out. We got, ooh, this looks maybe like an apron or something. This is nice. This is a really nice apron. Smells like a bounce house. Whatever the bounce house material is made out of. Thanks, Hi-Tech. This thing's pretty sweet, actually. Well, I am pretty stoked on this. I do want to say that Hi-Tech Diamond did not send me this saw for free. I paid money, my own money, for this piece of equipment. It's a phenomenal saw. I took a long time before I chose this particular saw. I did a lot of testing on my own. I borrowed a friend's for a little while and decided that this is the one that I was going to buy, and I just kind of waited a little while until I could afford it. It's actually really light. Feels like less than 20 pounds. Out of the box, ready to go. This is the reservoir right here. Take this piece, put it on this guy. So in here we got a extended warranty thing. One-year warranty with all machines. We've got this thing. This doesn't really work, to be honest. Hi-Tech Diamond, you need to do better. And the only reason I know that that works is because I borrowed my friend's saw for a little while. They sent us with an Allen key and 2 saw blades. So this Allen key is for the arbor shaft right here. And you put it on so that the Allen keys are on the flat part of the shaft. All right, gonna screw these in nice and tight. Don't want to over tighten it, and just go until feel that little bit of resistance on the Allen key. That'll be good. So the 2 blades that they send you with, one is the thin sintered blade. They call this the red blade. It used to be red, but now they, I guess, are not. On it says max RPM 3600. On the sticker it says $2,600. So do better, Hi-Tech. You guys got to get it together. You need to get a coherent thing. That should say 3,600 on this. The saw itself does go up to 3,600 RPMs, so that is good to note. Here we have the thin notched diamond blade. It says this one is good for turquoise, aqua, corundum, emerald, and ruby. Kind of a weird range here. Turquoise being really soft, corundum being really hard. I don't really know why this is best used for corundum and also turquoise, but I'm not really cutting a lot of corundum or turquoise. I primarily cut agates and jaspers, so I will be using, dun 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 dun, you guessed it, the red saw blade pretty much exclusively. And the blade looks great, you know. It's got center diamond about almost a centimeter all the way down, so it should last a good few months. We'll see. So I got my blade here. I'm gonna put it on the arbor, 5/8 arbor. We've got arrows going both directions, so I guess that means it can spin both ways. Locate the screw right here, and basically you want the washer to be the way that it came on the arbor, like this. That's gonna be what secures the saw blade. Gonna make sure this is on the actual arbor itself. And it says it should be a little bit more than hand tightened, so I am just gonna hand tighten it. I got a pretty strong grip, so I'm just gonna kind of hold it with 2 hands here and crank it down. That's a little bit over hand tightened, if I do say so myself. So this is a really thin saw blade, and I'm gonna get into why that is. Mostly it's because when you're dealing with lapidary, you gotta be careful, because if you're dealing with really expensive material like ocean jasper, you really need to maximize your material. And if you're using a saw blade that's 3 times this thickness, you're gonna be losing a lot of those orbs and a lot of cabbing material. So that's why the blade is so thin, and that's why pretty much the thinner the blade, the better. So I'm gonna get this baby filled up with water and plugged in, and we're gonna give it a test run. It comes with this cool sticker that says fill the water reservoir until the bottom is 1/8 covered, 1/8 inch covered. Do not overfill. I'm not sure why they don't want you to overfill it. I like a lot of water, but you don't want the water to be getting into here. So maybe that's why they say don't overfill it, but I'm gonna fill it up to just where the blade is, like here, just so that it's sitting in the water. And if I need more, I'll just add a little bit more, but we'll start with that. So this is the table I'm gonna be putting the saw on, next to my CB8 flat lap polishing machine over here, and then it's gonna go right here. Now you see my table is level, right? At least it's level right here, and it's level right here, and it's level in the back. So here, fairly level on the side this way. I'm not a carpenter, but I did build these tables myself, and I think I did a pretty good job. It's pretty flat. Now this is something that bothers me. I'm gonna take the saw, which, picking it up by one hand, you can kind of see this thing's pretty mobile if I can move it with one hand, which I like. But take the saw, and this is just something that I really think shouldn't happen, but look at that. The feet are just, and you know, I'm keeping it real. I'm not affiliated with Hi-Tech. This is just kind of first impressions. I know this is a great saw, but this pisses me off. I mean, not to the point where I'm gonna send it back, because I know this is a good saw, and it's easy to put like a little slab under there, but dude, you pay $500 for a saw and it's teetering. Do better, Hi-Tech. The other thing too is my friend's saw that I borrowed had the same problem. I didn't really remember that until this exact moment, but I remember having to stick a little thin slab under one of the feet just so that it wouldn't teeter, which is pretty annoying, I'm not gonna lie. So I guess I'm gonna have to do the same thing with this, or give it a little shim underneath, which isn't the worst isn't the worst thing, but you know what? It's pretty annoying. I'm not gonna lie. It's a $470 saw, and the feet aren't level. That's pretty annoying. All right, so the Royce Jewelry sticker is perfectly submerged, which I'm pretty stoked on. And I wanted to get it so that I could just fill it up to that every time, and that kind of be the right amount of water. It's kind of hard to see, but the saw blade is just barely touching the water. I'm gonna add a little bit more so that it's in. It's just covering the centered amount of the blade, which. I think that's, I'm not gonna say I think that's about 1/8 of an inch, which is what it says, but that's about how much water I like on my trim saw. I like a good spray of water coming from it so that my material stays cool and it prevents chipping, and it's just, that's how I like mine. You might have to experiment with a little bit more or a little bit less water, but this is what works the best for me with the material that I cut. So now we're gonna take the saw table, slide it through the blade, put it on there. It doesn't really snap into place, but right away I can tell that this is making contact with the thing. I can even see it bending. Maybe you can see that, so I'm gonna have to mess with that a little bit and maybe change the arbor, pull the arbor out a little bit. So I loosened the set screws, and this is what the manual says to do as well. You just loosen the set screws and you put the saw table on, and then you just kind of finesse it so that it's not touching the saw table. Give it a spin, so that's good. And then you rotate it until you see one set screw. Boom, right there. So I'm just gonna stick the Allen key in right there, tighten this one, and then you're gonna have to take the saw table off. Take the saw table off again to tighten the other one. This is pretty good. I might actually loosen it up and push it a little bit more, because the saw blade, I take the saw blade off a lot, and I don't drain my saw every time I use it, but I will take the saw blade off every time I use it. So if I set the arbor correctly the first time, until I have to grease it again, I'm never really gonna have to touch it. So I just wanna do this right the first time. So I'm gonna set that. That's just one of the set screws. That's good. So that's making no contact with the saw table anymore. So now I'm gonna take the saw table off again, and I'm gonna tighten the other set screw. Once I get both of those tight, this thing's pretty much gonna be ready to go. Again, don't want to over tighten it, but you want your blade to be in the position where it's not touching the saw table. You want it to be able to spin freely. This piece will drop right over. This is what prevents the shield. They send you this crappy piece of plastic that is supposed to just stay right here, which it does, but like, it's really not a good system. Not that there's really a way to do lapidary without getting wet, but, and this isn't bad, but it's just like, even if you bump the saw just a tiny bit, this thing is falling over. Like when I borrowed my buddy's saw, he had this, and it makes, if you are able to keep your hands over here when you're cutting, then the splash doesn't hit you. But more often than not, this thing, I mean, like, it is not, I mean, even just like get a slab right here, like it is not, this is not a good system, high tech. So all right, so the saw is plugged in. This is the first time I'm turning it on. Sounds good.
I actually didn't throw this out. That was just a joke. So I'm gonna put this on when we're testing it here. This almost looks like a little bit too much water, to be honest. I'm gonna speed it up. Sounds good. We got water coming out the back. We got water coming out the front. This thing is ready to cut. That actually is like a little bit more water than I would normally like, but in 5 minutes of cutting, it's gonna be all over the place and you're gonna need to add more anyway. So without further ado, let's find a slab and cut it up. All right, so I got some Stone Canyon right here, kind of a classic California material. I'm gonna template out a cab and we're gonna cut it out. All right, I got my cut lines and my cab template. There you go, now you can see it. Scribe that. And now I'm gonna move over to the saw and make these cuts. Use PPE when you are practicing the art of lapidary. You wanna wear glasses, at least safety goggles preferably. You wanna wear a respirator or at least an N95 mask to not breathe in respirable silica produced from cutting rocks. There's also other chemicals you can be exposed to while cutting rocks, so just look up what you're cutting if you can and try to know what it is before you cut a lot of it, because it will kill you over time. So I'm gonna get dressed up in my safety equipment and then I'm gonna go ahead and get to the trim saw. So I'm actually real stoked on this high-tech apron because I don't really have a good apron for lapidary, and this one is really great. This is just a really nice bonus that they send you. I got my safety goggles and I'm gonna get my respirator on and then we're gonna get it going. This is really important. I like to wear my Bose headphones, but if I don't have my Bose headphones, I rock the 3M industrial noise canceling things. And by noise canceling, I mean they grip the hell out of your head so you can't hear anything. So upon inspection here, you can see the little chips right here, but it's really very minimal. The saw is very precise. It cuts really well. The reason that I made my cut lines so close to the cab is because I know how well this saw cuts. I mean, this one's kind of questionable, but this is not. This is just kind of a test. Oh, that's why it's questionable, is because I didn't stick to the cut line on that one. I went rogue to get a good angle to cut it at, but once I get this over to the grinding wheel, I'll be able to clean this up and make it nice and even, and it'll be ready to be cabbed. But overall, the Hi-Tech saw is a fantastic piece of machinery. Despite everything that I said about this, it does fall off, and mostly it's just annoying. It does work, but mostly it's just annoying. I did put the shim right here to keep it from wobbling, which is annoying that I have to do that, but I'll just cut it right here. And so thank you for watching the unboxing video. To reiterate, I am not affiliated with High Tech Diamond at all. They did not send me this saw for free. I spent my hard-earned money on this piece of machinery. I've been wanting this particular saw for over 2 years now, so I'm really stoked to finally get it in my shop and use it to its full potential. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section down below.
So here's the Stone Canyon all polished up. It cracked when I was working on it, but overall pretty happy with the way that it came out.